Hey, everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Mike Gibb. I run accountrecovery.net, and I want to welcome you to today's webinar where we're talking about how to train a remote workforce. Training a workforce used to mean everyone gathered in one place, learning side by side, shadowing colleagues, and building a team culture in person. But in a world where remote and hybrid work are here to stay, collection operations face a new challenge: how to effectively train, coach, and motivate employees who may never set foot in the same office. The stakes are high. Consistency, compliance, and performance all depend on getting this right. So today, in this webinar, which is being sponsored by Collaboration Room, we've got a panel of experts here to break down how to build and maintain an effective remote training program, from onboarding and skills development to ongoing performance measurement and engagement. As I mentioned, this webinar is being sponsored by Collaboration Room. Collaboration Room helps contact centers solve the problem with how to successfully manage and train agents in remote and hybrid environments. For the past 5 years, contact centers have been forced to cobble together tools like Teams and Zoom that weren't built for their remote environments and never will be. Collaboration Room provides a patented SaaS platform that mirrors the floor virtually, allowing leadership to engage with, manage, and train and support agents as if everyone was sitting next to each other. Additionally, AI compliance tools ensure that security and compliance policies are being followed no matter where the agent is working. Collaboration Room is the one tool built specially to make remote work work. You can learn more by visiting them online at CollaborationRoom.ai. I'll drop a link in the chat that you can use to visit their website. And we're going to hear from Jason Hyland from Collaboration Room a little later in our conversation. All right, I'm going to introduce you to our panel now. And rather than reading their bios, I'm going to ask each of them to make a recommendation. They can recommend a book, a podcast, a movie, a TV show, something they have read or consumed or seen recently, and would recommend to the audience. First up, Katrina Cumins, the training instructor at GetX Health. Katrina, what's your recommendation?
My recommendation would be, let me think. You put me on the spot here. So, I think my recommendation for a book would be, let's see, The Inner Mind. I think it is a really great book to discover yourself.
Excellent. Write that down.
Okay, excellent. Sorry, I'm losing my internet connection. I apologize. It's a little buggy. Next up, CJ Johnson. Sorry, Frank Thierry, from corporate trainer at Cedar Financial. Frank, what's your recommendation?
Thank you very much, Mike. Great question. I'm actually reading a book called Sapiens right now, which talks about the evolution of humanity on Earth, how short of a wrinkle of time humans have actually been on the Earth compared to the Earth's presence. Very interesting read. Talks about religion and all kinds of crazy things. Very good read. You guys will be captured if you just read the first couple of pages. That's what I'm on.
Excellent. Mike, you're stalling out a little bit.
Yep.
CJ, what do you got?
Sorry.
All right.
Mike's on that hotel internet.
All right. So the recommendation.
Go ahead, CJ.
So the recommendation I would use is a family movie. It's actually a kids movie where they made a live action remake of it. It's How to Train Dragons, right? I recently watched that outside at a venue, right? And at the start of the movie, everybody believes dragons are the problem, so they build an entire system around fighting them. But Hiccup, he realizes that the issue isn't the dragons, is the misunderstanding. A shift start to happen and everything changes. That's exactly how sometimes work environments operate, where we think performance issues are people problems, so we try to control behaviors. But most of the time, it's the system, where it's a lack of clarity, weak training, or misalignment between what's actually taught and what's actually expected. So for me, it was actually a great movie on the surface, but underneath, it's really about leadership, learning, and fixing the right problems. Definitely worth watching, even more so if you're thinking about learning and performing.
Nailed.
Excellent. Love that. Angel Villarino. Angel, from Alorica, what's your recommendation?
So I'm a very big fan of Brene Brown. So all the books and podcasts that she has come up with have been very interesting. So for me, I would recommend Dare to Lead. It's a research-based guide to courageous leadership. It really focuses on actionable skills rather than status or power. So, and it also focuses on vulnerability as a strength. It's really good. It offers tools to build trust, live into values, and how to build resilient teams and connect with them. So that would be my recommendation.
Excellent. Love that. Jason, what's your recommendation?
There's a lot of books that went through my mind, but sitting on my desk right now, and this is going to be kind of a little shameless for my friend Heath Morgan, which some of you guys might know in the industry. He's one of the attorneys, but it's a book about all the stuff that's going on with AI. I just got it yesterday, and I'm stoked to start reading it today. So I'm just going to recommend it because my friend wrote it. So feel free. It's on Amazon.
Excellent.
Shameless plug if you're out there, Heath.
Excellent. Love that recommendation. Thank you all. Anybody who's watching us live today, something you want to recommend that you think the audience or everyone in the industry might enjoy, by all means, drop it in the chat. Would love to see some recommendations and some suggestions from everybody. You can use the chat or the Q&A as well to ask any questions or if you have any comments about the conversation today, as we talk about training a remote workforce. If you are a little shy and would prefer to remain anonymous, there is an anonymous button in a Q&A that you can push. And if you do that, I promise you, we have no idea where the questions are coming from. So with that, let's jump into our conversation. So there's obviously sort of two parts to training. There's the formal part where you've got somebody sort of trying to teach and you've got people trying to learn. And then there's that sort of informal training that kind of goes on where you're just sort of picking things up as you hear in the office or as you hear people talking or just sort of seeing things being done. There's that informal component to it. So in a remote environment, that might not be as easy to sort of have. So how do you recreate that informal learning that used to happen naturally in an office? And how do you do that remotely? Frank, I'll ask you to kick us off.
Well, thank you very much for the question. So one thing that we do, I mean, we utilize Microsoft Teams just to get the whole thing started. We add everybody into the group, and that is basically the number one hub that we use to communicate for about the first year once we onboard people. We have collaboration within the group starting from day one of training. We make sure that we're asking everybody questions. We're making sure that they're engaged. And we try to bring it as much into reality as being physically there without physically being there. There are challenges with not being there, but depending on the type of remote environment that the individual is in, are they working from home or are they in a remote office? We have noticed that there are some challenges with working from home because you're only learning from yourself. But when you have a remote team working in another office, you kind of have that group collaboration issue. So what we do is we try to engage as much as possible with our team throughout the entire process, try to get them to be used to asking questions, try to do virtual shadowing, physical shadowing, stuff like that, if it's possible. And that's how we do it.
Okay, excellent. Anyone else have any ideas, tips, insights on what they do to sort of recreate that informal part of the training and learning process before we kind of start to dive into the formal aspect of remote training?
No, I would agree. I think, every session requires an interaction, right? So using chat, polls, exercises, to not have just a video call, right? It's really what drives engagement. So have that practice constantly. It's something that we promote to be able to ensure that everyone is participating and getting engaged. So using, the technical portion of the platforms also, allows you to have that interaction that we used to have at the centers before.
We're about 6 years in to sort of, in a lot of ways to the remote experience, kind of going back to COVID. And so obviously there's been a lot of trial and error. There's been a lot of learning. What are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen or sort of learned from, as you try and take a process that was, in person and have moved it online? What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned? Instead, if you don't want to call them a mistake, but what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned, CJ?
That you can't treat remote work just like classroom work. You have to put yourself in a position where your organization understands it has to be a journey where every single training class you have an opportunity to refine this entity. We're going to use training as an entity because you build it up where it's something that you refine every time you do it, so that anytime that you do have a training class, you're able to provide the agents with the resources that they need in order to make it through a program that's designed to you're actually a vendor and you're going to provide the best product to the floor. So one of the things that we've done is we have aligned with the floor to ensure that the product that we're producing is aligned with the product that they're actually needing by the time they make it through the whole training process. Because the way it used to work is a person went through training and they learned a lot, not just from the training classroom, but the walking to the training room, the break rooms, and all of those things of that nature. Without having those anymore, you have to have a clearly defined journey for what your people are going to experience when they are onboarded to your training environment.
Yeah, CJ, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
I'm just out of curiosity. So when you say I love how you said like you guys are kind of a vendor to the floor. Essentially, you are they're your client. As far as getting that feedback from the floor, is that directly feedback from the agents about how training went? Is that feedback from just the supervisors? Like what are you seeing when these agents come out of training? What is it that feedback that helps you refine that process?
Well, we have a few different ways we refine the process. One of the ways is it's a daily process. Every one of our trainers are running an itinerary that shows them what every day looks like. So every day we actually input feedback into a Slack channel where the sales floor and the training department have an opportunity to see that feedback on the classes progression and the individuals, how they progress throughout the training cycle. And we also meet every Wednesday and Friday before the training starts so that we can be aligned with the sales floor. It's the trainer, the training manager, and the sales floor. And we talk about expectations, what happened on the previous class, and what we anticipate seeing moving forward.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
One thing that we found useful for feedback would be to give some sort of a questionnaire to the trainees once they're out of training. They could go ahead and give feedback on the type of training material that we have. Was it useful? Did it go in one ear and out the other? But most importantly, how good would you rate your trainer? Was there something that they're delivering that could be done differently? Did everything that they say stuck? So having some form of a questionnaire that goes out to the training group or cohort definitely helps out to give some valuable feedback.
You know what I found out interesting about that is I hear so many people talk about, but you look at test scores after training to kind of measure how training's going. But I like how you guys are actually giving the trainees questionnaires and allowing them to give feedback. I talk to a lot of people about remote training and production. I don't hear a lot of people tell me that they ask the trainees afterwards, like, what could we have done better?
Absolutely. We have been fortunate enough to be doing remote training for about the past 10 years. So once COVID happened, we didn't really need to change anything. We were already in a remote environment. So we were fortunate enough to just carry on what we did. But we did learn right away that like the agents that we had in the office, deploying laptops to them, getting them acclimated with the systems instead of having a couple of monitors in the office. Now they were stuck to a laptop. So there were definitely challenges in the beginning when it comes to stuff like that. But training people in a remote setup, we've been doing it for a very long time, and we've been able to hone in on it to the point to where test scores are one thing, but for me, it's more of a retention type of thing. You'll see some type of learners that want to go in, take a quiz, get a passing score, and on to the next one. What I have found to be very helpful is whatever training module that we do, we have everybody take it, we get the scores, we share the scores with everybody, but then we go over every single question within it, do a question and answer after, and then we see if everybody gets it or not. Then if they want to go ahead and make their score higher, we have them retake it so they could have another score recorded that's higher. And then we move on to the next one. We repeat that over and over.
When's the best time to ask for that feedback? Obviously, if you've got someone who's just gone through training and you know, sort of their day one on the job, you don't know what you don't know. So maybe that's kind of too soon to sort of ask for what could we have done differently during training. Is there a time period that you need to wait before you kind of start asking for that feedback?
I like doing it after a few days. How is it? Is this too much information? Are you guys getting training burnout? Every couple of days, check on everybody, do a temperature check on them and see if everything's going okay. You'll start to see it right away with people. Some of them, they'll start getting tired by lunchtime. By the end of the day, if they're getting a little bit fatigued, I like to have them take breaks, more breaks than normal. Get up, stretch, go walk around, grab a tea, grab a coffee, but ask them how they're doing along the way. Not only are you a trainer, but you're also their first point of contact coming into the company. So the more that you show that you actually care about them, and they're not just a cow in a herd of cattle, the better the results that you're going to get from them.
Katrina, we haven't heard from you yet. I'm curious. So let me throw this question out at you. Do you find that the job performance, how people perform after they've gone through training, is that a better or worse source of feedback than actual feedback from the people who've gone through training? Or sort of how do you kind of sort of manage that dynamic where you've got how they're doing versus what they thought, how they thought it went?
So, at Jetix Health, we send out surveys. So we send out a survey 2 weeks after their training. So we have a 2-week program schedule that we use. And after 2 weeks, we send out a survey asking how training was, any feedback, all of that kind of stuff. We're seeing high A's when they are in that first 2 weeks with our training period. Our drop down and that we're noticing and some things that we're trying to change is after they get on the floor and shadowing. That seems to be an issue. They the person that they're shadowing with, they're either busy with calls or can't stop and show them exactly what is needed. So we're seeing a little bit of drop off there and hoping to improve it there. But it's about 2 weeks. We also send one out 30 days and then 90 days just to check how our employees are doing. So we get really positive, good feedback from that.
And Mike, I think that goes back to what you were saying a minute ago, where you're like, when do you send out the surveys? Because sometimes somebody coming right out of training or in training doesn't know yet, like, hey, actually, 2 weeks into it, I don't feel like I really learned my job in training, or you guys nailed it. 2 weeks back, I can look back and say all that training helped me. So I like how they wait a little longer after the training so that the agents get a chance to kind of compare, like, what I knew day one, has it been helpful, or did you guys miss a lot of stuff that I deal with every day on these calls?
Exactly. Like, I mean, we don't know where our weaknesses are unless they do fill out these surveys and that we can change. I can say I'm a, I'm actively training. I train a class every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, I'm changing that training due to these surveys. So our feedback from these surveys. So we try to make it better every class that we have. We try to up our game one up.
One last follow-up. Do you have an example of, maybe a change that's been made based on feedback that you've gotten from one or more than people in a training class? What are some, like, what type, when you talk about making a change, what does that sort of look like?
So previously, we just had a 1 week training where they would do compliance and stuff with the trainer the first week, and then they'd go straight into shadowing the second week. One of the issues that we saw was that wasn't enough. We needed to show some basic system navigation, some get them to listen to phone calls, to know exactly what the job is, right? To know what they are going to be doing. So that was one of the big changes that we made this year was you're not just going to stay a week. We're going to stretch it out to 2 weeks and we're going to, strengthen that foundation, right? Because everything has to start with a very strong foundation to build on that.
Yeah. Excellent. I'm going to hit the pause button on the conversation. We've got plenty more to dive into, but I did want to give Jason the opportunity to talk a little bit about Collaboration Room as the sponsor of today's webinar. So, Jason, it is all yours.
All right, thank you, Mike. I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to get it right this time because I know last time I did not nail the sharing of the screen. Let me know when you're seeing my screen, Mike.
You
Yep.
can see it.
I see it.
All right, excellent. So what Collaboration Room is, it's a virtual floor platform. And what it's designed to do, as Mike said earlier, is to mirror the floor in about every way possible, but virtually. That includes anywhere from training to nesting to engagement. Now, these are all the challenges that we're helping our customers overcome in remote and hybrid work, but I'm going to focus really on the training side. So let me switch over to just a really brief demo. So this would be the example of a training or a nesting environment. Down here will be your trainer. Up here are your agents. I only have 5 on the screen. You can have up to 15 agents on the screen at once. And I'll hit play. Now, what makes us a little bit different is our patent. So in like Teams or Zoom, you have the ability to stream all of these videos. Now, we're on Zoom right now. We're all streaming these videos, but only one of us, that's me right now, can share a monitor, which, based on the feedback we got from our contact center industry and from our customers, was that wasn't enough. So we have a patent that allows us to stream not only these videos, but we can also stream up to 2, well, actually up to 3. We just added a third one. But typically they're streaming 2 monitors and a video of each agent simultaneously, and you can focus on what you want to focus on. Like if I click play here for just a second, it's going to come up with the ability to double tap on these. Oh, I'm sorry, I went back a little bit too far. You can click on observe to listen to the calls. You can hit swap camera screen to rotate through. You can double tap on any monitor or any video to make it a full screen view so that you can understand exactly what the agents are working on while listening to their calls, whether that's shadow or live calls. Over here, you're going to get notifications based on the facial expressions, whether they're in a positive, negative, or neutral mood. And then you can respond accordingly depending on the environment. If I move just a little bit further, you're going to see this agent has raised their hand, and the supervisor is going to come over here and make a private call, or the agent could call the supervisor or the trainer. Now they're on a call. You already have access to their monitors. All you have to do is hit swap camera screen and it rotate through which one you want to be looking at. So you can support this agent, because what we hear from our customers is the biggest growth and attrition isn't in training. People happy to sit there and listen and get paid. It happens when they get to the nesting phase, because they're taking calls, live calls now, and it's harder with the platforms that we've been using in the past, like Teams and Zoom, to get the help that you need. From a security and compliance perspective, making sure that there's nothing happening negatively, we have the ability to let you know if we see a cell phone in the video, so that you can remind the new agents, especially, that, hey, cell phones aren't allowed at your desk. We can even allow you to determine if there are multiple people in the room, so that you can make sure that they understand when they get to production, this can't happen right here, because we're going to pop an alert that the AI saw another person in the room. Now, from here, we're going to go over to the agent view in the training and nesting rooms. Now, the feedback from our agents is like, I don't mind being on camera with my supervisor or my trainer, but I don't really want to be on camera all day long with my team. So to get them to focus, so they're not looking at what other people are doing in the training and nesting room, typically our clients only allow the agents to see the trainer. And so they can reach out to the trainer. Now they can chat and even private call if you allow other people in the training room. But in general, they're focused when it's time to train and listen. They're focused on the person above. Now, if you have multiple trainers in this room, they're going to see multiple trainers due to the transparency of the platform. So they'll see everything that's going on. Then what you can do is you can take these agents at any point in time during the day from like a training and production room and nesting room and move them into a meeting room. Some like Frank was talking about a little while ago about, hey, let's get out of this environment. Let's get over here into this environment so that everybody can see and hear each other. And then you can either move them back when you're done with the meeting room, or they can walk back. And what I mean by walk back is they can go to their dashboard, and let's just say they're in the patient care training room, and they only see the rooms that are available to them, and then they can walk back down to their meeting room, or from their meeting room into their training room or their nesting room. And you can have rooms for all kinds of different things, different business verticals, locations. But this is kind of cool. Again, what Frank was talking about, giving them a break. Our clients are creating rooms on the platform that aren't about business. So when people do go on break or lunch, imagine being a new employee and going, man, I love soccer. And then going into the soccer room and finding 15 employees that work at that company that you never would have met because they live in different parts of the country. And you can talk about the Man U game that happened that day, or football or basketball, whatever you want. And then from a reporting standpoint, the last thing I'll show you is this report, and our trainers tend to really enjoy it. Let's see, which one do I want? I want this one right here. One of the aspects of our platform is to be able to see, let me move the zoom over, is minutes engaged versus disengaged. Imagine being in training and being able to understand from the AI's perspective that Jagdeep right here was engaged, meaning we could see their whole face. They were pretty much looking at where the work was, versus disengaged of only 16 minutes, meaning staring off into space or looking down at their phones or whatever. And then like right here, you can see this person wasn't very engaged. So maybe I talked to that person after the training. What was it about the training that you didn't like, or you weren't enjoying, or something like that? So again, not only giving you the environment, but giving you some reporting that you've never had before to understand how engaged are these agents. So again, just making remote work from a variety of directions for contact centers. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mike in the panel, and I'll be quiet for as long as I humanly can, which usually isn't very long.
Hey, Jason, I wanted to
Excellent.
add to what you were covering right now, since we're piloting the tool. But what I like about it, the current platforms do not give you stats or data. What makes yours unique is it does, right? So be able to facilitate classes, but have the data that will show you progress, right? Is everyone participating? Is everyone engaged? Those are great tools that our trainers are finding really useful. So I just wanted to call that out because it is a differentiator.
Thank you. And look, we use Teams in our office. I'm not like a Teams or a Zoom hater or anything like that. But here's the thing. Teams and Zoom have never created a feature specifically for contact centers. And I don't think they ever will. They are general meeting platforms. They're not built to do all the things that you folks need them to do. And that's what we do.
Excellent. Well said. Well, Jason, thanks to you, and thanks to Collaboration Room for sponsoring today's webinar. You can check them out, everybody, at CollaborationRoom.ai. Okay, let's dive back into the training process. If you could design the ideal first 30 days that a new hire in a contact center or a collection operation should go through, let's say today versus pre-COVID or back when it was in office, what do how would you design those first 30 days, or how would you design that training process? What do you want the person to get out of it? What do you want it to look like? What do you want their responsibilities and everything to sort of be? Angel, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Really, ideally now I would build it with, a very structured supported learning journey. And that would look, for example, on week one, the foundation and the environment set up, make sure that, all the tech is set up, the tools walk through, clear expectations on key performance indicators, how the training is going to be conducting, and then, introduction to the fundamentals of what it is that we're going to train, your compliance, your tone, your call flow. But again, I think a lot of it's very early engagement. So to make training work in a remote environment, you need to use as well what are the technical capabilities of the platform, check on knowledge and understanding through chat, calls, breakout activities, etc. That would be for like my week one, right? If we're looking at week two, I want to start building skill building and simulations and a lot of practice. So what we do a little bit different on our side is modular training, right? Making sure that it's well balanced between instructor-led training and self-paced, and make sure that there's a lot of activities and interactions throughout the day, right? That really works on building engagement and making sure that folks are participating and understanding the content that's been delivered. And I would say, depending on, how the training is structured, expose them to, listening to calls, calibrations, again, simulations, and then, depending on how long the nesting is, structured for, that will be about last 2 weeks. But the first 2 weeks are critical in how the training is set up and how interactive it is.
So I have a quick question, and I know the answer, but I don't know if other people do this. I think you guys do something that's one of the things I hear a lot about in training is the first day or two, it can be crazy because of technical issues going wrong and stuff. But you guys do something that's pretty unique, Angel. At least to me, it's unique. You do like a tech check.
We do.
Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing with those new agents before they start training?
Yeah. So even before we have a dedicated team, right? So I will tell you, sometimes we train on average, and I would say the last 2 quarters of the year, roughly about 10,000 people. So that's a lot of people in 3 to 4 months, and all of that work is remote. So we have a dedicated team that sets them up. So each of the classes get assigned a schedule before they're going to join the first day of product training or new hire orientation. So they meet with them for a couple of hours to get them set up. So we inform them, after our folks get hired, we're gonna be shipping a unit to your house, and then someone's gonna, contact you to help you set it up. So we do that in batches through 4 to 5 people, and then we have a team that walks them through how to connect the unit, right? Get them all set up, and then test all the tools that they're gonna need for product training. So by the time they join that day one, they're ready to go. Now, one non-negotiable on our side, if something didn't work, we don't endorse them, right? So we don't want a bad learning experience and shortchange people in learning. So the team takes care of that. That specific team is called the tech check team. And then if something didn't work, then we have a plan B, right? A, do we ship them another unit? But having everything prep for what it is that they're going to need is super critical, as well as expectations on how that learning environment is going to be conducted, right? What are we going to need from them in terms of compliance, clean desk policy, what type of interaction we want from the learners during that learning experience. So all of that is front loaded before they even step foot in that virtual classroom.
Thank you. Does anybody else do that pre
Absolutely.
check stuff?
Yes.
It's the only way to go.
What we found is we send out a welcome letter prior to the training starting, where we invite them, where all of our training starts on Monday. We invite them on a Friday to come to an open house voluntarily, where they should receive their equipment before then. They can ask any questions, get any assistance. So the process of them working through everything, we don't want people arriving thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to get logged in on Monday, because then that just creates that bad atmosphere in the beginning part of a day. And if you ever trained before, you don't want that nervous energy. You'll get it out of the way on Friday. So that way, when they come in on Monday, it's just, let's get to it. It may be those one-offs, but we try to take care of that beforehand.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry, Mike, you can go ask other people your question. I'm just really curious about that one. It just seemed like that was unique, but maybe everybody's doing it and I just didn't know it.
Angel used a word that I want to kind of use to reframe the question I had originally asked. And the word he used was non-negotiable. And what I'm curious is, Katrina or CJ or Frank, what are some of the non-negotiables that you have that are part of your training process now that, so much of it or all of it is being done, remotely?
From our side, one of the non-negotiables would be taking like time off during training. If you have an employee, I mean, the best time to make a first impression is during training. Your trainer is going to be paying attention to everything from minute 1, day 1, hour 1, right? So non-negotiables would be any type of an attendance issue, punctuality issue. That should completely be off the table. To me, those are a little bit more red flags. If somebody's not able to be prepared to, do what they need to do to get to work. We are in an environment with adults, we're not children, and we expect that if you agree to, show up and be ready to rock and roll, that you're there at the time that you agree to be on. So one of the non-negotiables for our office during training would definitely be attendance and punctuality. It throws off the whole training schedule too.
Yeah. What about camera? Do they have to have the cameras on?
Absolutely, yes. I've seen other companies that I know where cameras are optional. I think that's a little bit psychotic. You want to definitely be seeing what people are looking like, the expressions on their faces, like you mentioned earlier. From your demo, are they looking around? Are their eyeballs down here? Likely they're on their cell phone. Distractions, are they paying attention? Are they nodding when you're going along, or at least pretending to nod and act like they're going along? Whatever
Yeah.
the case might be, we want to pay attention to like just the small stuff like that. So I've gotten a pretty good handle on it over time. But yeah, you could tell things right away when by just simply paying attention to people and having the type of a trainer that's engaged with the development of great agents, as opposed to the type of trainer that's just trying to pass people for the sake of passing people.
Yeah. What about everybody else? What other non-negotiables you guys got out there?
I think
I'm
the
learning.
I think the camera one is very vital, because at the end of the day, the camera is going to allow you to have another resource, especially as a great trainer. And being that we do use the collaboration room as a platform, it's not just the cameras that make it great, it's the cameras in the actual screen. So you're mirroring the reaction that you actually see with the screens that they're actually on, because sometimes you can prevent confusion just by being aware of what your surroundings are based on what it is you see on those screens. So cameras on and being able to see those screens are very big for us in our process.
Cool.
Or worst case scenario, you ask a trainee a question and cameras off and they just don't respond. We've seen stuff like that happen. They might act like they're, going to the restroom or whatever the case is. But um, being in the training game for as long as I've been, you see everything. Some people could, I hope it's not me, but, falling asleep or drifting off or not paying attention. They're just not focused and engaged in what's going on. If they're not paying attention during training, it tells a lot about that person's seriousness in the job in which they just applied.
And
How about you? How about you, Kat? Anything over at JetX that's like
I'm sitting
non-negotiable?
here kind of laughing because we use the collaboration room, and the amount of times that somebody has been asleep on camera is amazing to me. It's just mind blowing. It's your first week on the job, and I realize that we're throwing a lot of information at you, right? It can be overwhelming. We are checking in, but yeah, it happens. It happens. But I would agree with the rest of the panel, that attendance the first couple of weeks, that you have to be there. We are going through so much so fast, and missing one day, even missing just a couple of hours, you are missing vital information about what we do. And it is hard to go over that, especially when you have classes of 10 or more people, which typically we do. The biggest class I ever had was 40 people. So, we are running through information, and, if they're not there, the cameras being on, definitely. The amount of people that just think that, "Oh, this is a work from home job. I can have my kids, I can have this, I can have that." And the collab room, that plays a big role for us because it does pick up faces. Um, it does, one thing that I did notice, and this is, would be, something kinda funny. The collab room kept picking up on this agent, uh faces in the background, right? It would give me an alert. I mean, my alerts were going bing, bing, bing. And so I pulled this agent to the side and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she had little Santa Claus in the back. They were dancing Santa Claus. And every time that dancing Santa Claus moved, it picked it up and would give me an alert.
AI is
So,
smart, but it's not perfect yet.
right, right. So, but engagement, being present, being there, being willing to participate, I think is another non-negotiable. I, as a trainer, don't want to talk to myself. I want engagement. I want your feedback, right? I can't, I can't gauge you. Yes, I'm trying to gauge you through a camera and through everything, but your feedback also, if you're asking questions, going through all of that, I think that would be our biggest non-negotiable.
I
Someone
do.
else posted in the chat that engagement. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, I do agree, but I slightly disagree with the engagement part, and here's why. I've seen people, whether it's personality, religious wise, where they just don't like speaking openly in a group setting. But what happens is I might, even though hundreds and hundreds of people that I've trained, I have a little bit of doubt about them being a little bit introverted, but then they get out on calls and they paid attention during training and they do great. So yes, the engagement thing gets to be a little bit frustrating sometimes, but you never know what you're dealing with until they actually roll out onto the floor and you have KPIs to tell you how they're doing. Our organization, we focus on 4 main KPIs. Efforts, right? How many phone calls, emails, SMSs are going out? Efforts got to be there, certain amount per day. It's not just phone call count anymore. Wrap up time. How long are they taking to wrap things up and go on to the next call? Their close rate and their pay close rate. Focusing on those 4 will tell me everything that I need to know about that individual, their confidence level. If they're taking a long time wrapping things up, it tells me literally on the first day what we're working with. And then I can go ahead and address it at that point.
Oh, there's a question in the chat, which I'll use as an opportunity to remind everybody we've got a few minutes left here. If you have a question for the panel, or if there's something you want to throw out there, by all means, send it into the chat, or you can use the Q&A, which does allow you to submit questions or comments anonymously. The question that came in was, how do you train the trainer to become an expert in using the tool?
Is that tool like
What
Collaboration Room? Or is that just like any of the meeting tools? I'm not
Whoever
sure.
asked the cat,
I think it's to train the
question.
Yeah, I think it's to train the trainer.
Go ahead.
They're referring to how do you make sure that your trainer knows everything that they're training, right? You wouldn't want to go to driving school with somebody who doesn't really know how to drive. So how you can tell that by how effective the individual was during the training process themselves. Did they pick up on it? Some people are natural plug and plays. They pick up on things fast. They're able to learn it, but not just to learn it, to actually be able to teach it. Not everybody can be a trainer, for sure, depending on if it's in-house, offshore, whatever the type of setup that you guys have. But the trainer also has to be involved with new policies and procedures that come out, new things that happen, new I don't know, features from the applications that you guys use for collections, all of that stuff. It's super important that they stay up to date and know what's going on so that they could be taught and they could also teach at the same time.
Now, I think somebody came back and said, what about on collaboration tool? From that perspective, when somebody's coming on board, we do a lot of training. And what I would say is, one is you can put your trainers in as agents and then have somebody as the trainer so that the trainer is training the trainers and then get feedback from them and then rotate through who is the trainer in the room and who's the trainees in the room so that they can all give each other feedback on that. So you can change somebody's role easily in the admin side. And now they just went from this side of the screen to that side of the screen. And then, everybody gets an opportunity to understand, like, this is what I'm going to see. This is what I'm not going to see. And here's some of the alerts that I'm going to get so you can get a little used to them. So that's just to add on to that last part of that question. Yeah,
also,
sure, CJ.
And also the way that we make sure that we all stay aligned and we're all teaching each other is once our classes are done, we talk about pain points. We talk about how we utilized it and best practices after every session that we have. And we share information between trainers so that everybody is aligned in regards to what benefits that they can utilize from that platform, because there's no reason for people to silo information. So how one person is using it, they explain it to another trainer. So people improve on their skill set and their ability to deliver content because they're aware of all of the features that are available.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
There was another question here. What is considered an adequate pass out rate for a single training batch?
Good question. I would think I would think there, you, no, under normal circumstances in our organization, not everybody is a good hire. Shout out to our TA team for whoever they bring in. Sometimes they just don't get it. I 100% pass rate would be silly in my humble opinion. And if the trainer notices that somebody just doesn't get it or the industry isn't for them, they're not really understanding the concepts, it's time to let them go. You know, you don't have to pass everybody through training. And then what ends up happening, you end up having a weak link, you pass them on, they transition out onto the collection floor, and then they struggle. I don't think it's good for people's personal mental health or the personal mental health of the team leader manager that you pass them to. If they don't get it, it's time to say, hey, look, this isn't for me. If there's any other position available within the organization, great, you could apply there. But if not, I'm sorry, I can't have you, working on our files. We value our clients dearly, and we're not trying to lose any of them, for the sake of on-the-job training where you're like an elephant in a china shop just breaking everything. If it's time to go, it's time to go. But
So
adequate would
yeah,
be like, yeah, I would think at the 90% and up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that consistent for the rest of you folks?
It is. I would agree with that, right? I think it also depends on how long the training is, how interactive. So there's a lot of variables that go into that, but I would agree with 90% or higher too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you want to know what percentage you're aiming for, but you also want to have a visualization of what your intended end product looks like. So you're not just always trying to meet a quota. You're trying to provide stable people to the workforce where you, because this is the way I see it. The recruiting team gets that bus full. Our job as a training department is to get as many people to the final destination, which is the floor, as possible by providing them with the insight that they need. So once they do get to the floor, they can easily they easily have a skill set so that they can provide our customers with a great experience and be able to hit the numbers that they need to hit.
If I could add it on that, right? Given the trainer the ability to, speak up as well in performance, one best practice that we follow is we hold our trainers accountable for the production performance all the way up to 60 days. So really it is our trainers that tell us, hey, X% or, this learner is really not going to make it, right? Or there's a gap in skill that we need to address. So, we collaborate very closely with our facilitators to make that decision. But there's also, that accountability and reward to the trainer for endorsing a high performing agent to the floor.
Yeah, and just on top of that, you brought up a great point, Angel. The training methodology that we use, I get measured on how good they do from their first month out onto the floor. For a long time, we were at like maybe 20-30% are actually hitting their goal in their first month, climbed up to 40-50. Not trying to pat myself on the back here or anything, or our organization or our methodologies, but last month's training group, we had 14 out of 15 people hit their goal in the first month. That's 93.33%. So we have gone up and up and up with our game. But again, it's calling a win for a win and a loss for a loss. If somebody's not cut out for it, it's not a good idea to invest energy on top of something that's not going to work.
I like that.
Yeah, and the 60-day thing for sure. Though, just to add a little bit more onto that, our organization uses like a 4-step type of tier process. We don't give them their first full-blown goal in the first month. We do it incrementally. So right now, we're trying to see how far can we get the whole group to hit their goal in their first month, second month where it increases, third month where it increases even more, and then their fourth month where it's their full-blown goal. So we are definitely having successes, and we're in uncharted waters, which is a good problem to have if you're having the most people hitting their goal fresh out of training. There's been a common misconception in training where once the agents get out onto the floor, we could tell if they're good or bad in 6 months. I think that's something from yesteryears. It doesn't take 6 months to tell if somebody could be able to do the job. You could tell in the first 1 to 2 months.
There's another question here. How do you ensure consistency in compliance adherence in remote training while still keeping everyone engaged?
You know, I don't want to make it this a CR thing. I'm kind of curious. I showed you some of the things we do, but for the folks who haven't been using CR very long or not using CR at all, and you're using some of the meeting platforms, I guess that's a great question for you guys, is how are you utilizing those platforms and ensuring that compliance during that training and nesting period?
So we utilize a couple of different AI tools to listen to calls. That'll listen to the consumer side. It'll listen to the agent side as well. And then we have parameters that we have taught to the AI on things to listen for. So it could get into just compliance things, mini Miranda, call recording disclosure, but then it could get into more technical things where someone's saying, I'm going to sue you, or mentioning an attorney, or making promises and stuff like that. So we utilize it, and we've been building it for several years. So we have to definitely lean on our compliance team to go through 100% of the calls that we have to make sure that our compliance success rate on calls is at a point that's adequate for upper management. That's how we do it.
Yeah. Mike, you mind if I share one more thing real quick while you're looking
Not
at the
at
next
all.
question?
Go ahead.
So I showed you our standard view. We have a few clients that are very heavy in medical and financial services, and their customers were asking for a little bit more. So we just recently released our Clean Desk. This is a standard camera, but a lot of our clients are starting to replace those with $20, $25 wide lens that not only shows the face, but can actually see the desk as well. And if I play here, you're going to see him come over here and grab a pen. We've trained the AI to know what pens, paper, cell phones. It's going to get an alert here. Pen, iPads. This isn't for everybody. This is for specific customers that have needs. And then if you get an alert, you could actually kind of not move the camera. It's not moving, but within the view of the camera, you can kind of go in and take a look at what's on that desk. And then even if they have, again, with our platform in general, we allow blurred and virtual backgrounds, but the AI doesn't see the blurred and virtual background. Only the trainers and up do. I can still see that pen even though it's a blurred background. So there are tools, whether it's CR or other things. But I saw somebody post something into the cameras, their reluctance to the cameras. Yeah, here's the thing. Most new agents coming in, 18 to 28 years old, a lot of them, they grew up with cameras. A lot of people who are 35, me in my 50s think, oh, everybody's going to hate these cameras. That's not the case. Somebody 18 to 28 years old has grown up with one of these in their face all their lives. So there's actually a lot less reluctance than you might think. But I'll stop this and let you guys go back to the conversation. But I just wanted to let you know that there is technology out there to help you guys, whether it's us or somebody else that might have something that can ensure that compliance depending on your vertical.
Let's see, got a few minutes left here and a bunch of questions I haven't gotten to yet. Which one do I want to share?
Pick your favorite person, Mike.
So that's everybody. There's a difference between training that makes a team genuinely better and training that exists only to satisfy an audit or just to check a box. How much of your current remote training program would survive if you asked yourself honestly, is this here because it works, or is it here just because it protects us? I won't pick on anybody, but I'll see if anybody just wants to volunteer first.
I will. So we do we do have one for percentage wise. I would think 98% of it is definitely useful, works. We do have one training module. I will leave it nameless. That the odds of it actually happening on a call are probably 1 in 5,000. But we thinned out a lot of the training that was kind of just performative, checking in boxes and stuff like that. We got rid of all that stuff once we had to narrow it down and tailor it during the COVID era. So we have thinned it out to the point to, again, where it goes back to the 4 main KPIs we look for once the agent goes out of training and they get onto the floor. We've learned that if we stick to the model that we're using with the success rates that we are seeing, agents tend to stick around longer because they're hitting their goals and they're making extra money for their families the first, second, third, fourth month and beyond. So training wise, again, 98%. We do have one small module, but I can't get rid of it. It's like a zombie module. But yeah, that's how we do it.
All right, we are almost out of time now. We're going to go around the panel one last time. And what I'm going to ask each of you to do is share what you think the most important takeaway is, or if you want to share a recommendation, or if you want to share something you're walking away from this conversation with as a means of giving people some, just some sort of important takeaways. as they go back into their offices. And what I'm going to ask you to do is sort of structure your takeaway or your recommendation in the form of a billboard. So picture you've got a billboard that you can design. You can make it look however you want. You can make it say whatever you want, but you want to get a message across that you want people to remember based on, everyone who's watching this webinar, anyone who's driving by that billboard and interested in remote training. What do you want to put on that billboard so that they remember what's going to be most important? CJ, we'll start with you.
All right. So on my billboard, you will see the words listen, learn, believe, apply. That's the process. Then in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see 1% better every day. That's how we'll start every single recap in a training class. That's how we will provide the information to the people. It would just be a core philosophy on how we actually complete training. First, you're going to listen, understand what we're giving you. Then you'll learn the things that we need to do. Then you'll believe that in the information. Then you'll believe you can apply the information. And the last thing you will do per the billboard is apply the information once you make it to the sales floor.
Love it.
I am 1% better just hearing the enthusiasm and the energy in that voice, man.
I'm going to cut in line. I'm just going to say on my billboard, going to be a big picture of CJ smiling. That's my billboard right there. I'm done.
Excellent. Thank you. Frank, what's on your billboard?
Rate your trainer. I think a very good thing to do is to rate your trainer, see how they're doing, see if people are vibing with them, if they're learning from them. And ultimately, are they becoming successful agents because of the work that they put in during training?
Excellent. Thank you. Angel?
For me, it would be, build training with intentional structure, pair with human connection. For me, that's important. And, tailor fitting what that experience going to look like. And, the kind of, just the connection that the trainer will have with the class is important. So that would be mine.
Excellent. Thank you. Katrina?
Mine is all of them. Like, those are so great. How do you expect me to follow up with that? No, I just, my take, I'm so glad I got to come today and listen to everyone's ideas, and I'm taking away a lot from those. So I really don't have a billboard. I think everyone's ideas are great. You did me dirty trying to do me last.
I made you go first before. I wanted you to.
I know,
I
and then you
put you on the
caught me off
spot.
guard. I know.
What you're making me think of is if you've ever seen the pictures where it's the house that's all decked out in Christmas lights, and then the house next door just has an arrow pointing to the house next door and says ditto.
Exactly. There you go. There you go.
Excellent.
That is definitely me right now.
Jason, what's on your billboard?
I already said, man, my billboard is just a big picture of Charles's energy, man. That's all I need. And then after that, I'm going to let it go.
You're a very close second in terms of energy, by the way. I will put, you don't sell yourself short on that. So, but listen, Frank, CJ, Katrina, Angel, I want to thank each of you so much.
We didn't get Angel's billboard.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah, no, right in the beginning. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
We did. Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah.
So, listen, panel, I want to thank each of you so much for being here. You're all busy. You've all got a ton going on that you took an hour out of your day to come and be here, first of all, and share some really important advice. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to everybody watching and listening. So thank you so much for being here today. We all very much appreciate it. Jason, I want to thank you and everybody and Samir at Collaboration Room for sponsoring this webinar. Really appreciate your support. CollaborationRoom.ai is the website. Everybody, please check them out if you haven't done so already. All of you watching and listening, I've got to say a thank you to you as well, whether you're watching this live or you're watching a recording. Thank you so much for making us part of your day. Very much appreciate that. If you are watching us live, we're back tomorrow with 2 webinars. We've got a double header. We've got a webinar at 1 o'clock about dealing with all of the pro se plaintiffs who are using AI to file complaints and lawsuits against companies, how to manage that against that. And then at 3 o'clock, we've got a Q&A with Don Maurice, where we're breaking down and answering questions about the New York City debt collection rule. So if you haven't signed up for those yet, there are links in the chat, or you can find the link on the events calendar at accountsrecovery.net. We would love to see you back for one or both of those tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.